Imagine walking into a room full of people who underestimate you, not because they know who you are, but because they don't. Now, picture those same people realizing too late that the new girl they mocked is the one who decides their fate. This is not just a story about rank or power. It's a story about respect, resilience, and a woman who rose higher than anyone expected. You're watching Her Mission Diaries. If you love stories of courage, redemption, and military grit, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe right now because you won't want to miss what happens next. The morning. Sun had barely stretched its golden fingers across the naval base when she arrived in a small duffel slung over her shoulder, her posture upright but calm. To most, she looked like a new recruit, a bit too quiet, too polished, too composed for someone supposedly just joining. The guards barely glanced at her ID. The enlisted crew lounging by the mess hall traded smirks. Fresh meat, one muttered. Hope she can survive boot week. She didn't react, just smiled faintly and kept walking. Inside the training division, the noise was overwhelming. Orders barked, boots thudding against the concrete, the tang of sweat and metal in the air. The senior officers had no idea who she really was. That was exactly how she wanted it. Her name tag read Rae Morgan. No title, no rank insignia, just a name. She was there to observe the base's operations quietly. Newly appointed Rear Admiral Rae Morgan, sent undercover by the Fleet Command to assess the deteriorating discipline at Fort Triton. Reports had reached the higher-ups that the once proud base had turned into a playground of arrogance, favoritism, and cruelty. She was there to see it firsthand. By noon, she had seen enough. The welcoming committee started their games early. A group of self-proclaimed veterans cornered her near the supply hangar, pretending to show her around. They laughed when she tripped over a loose cable, not because she was clumsy, but because one of them had intentionally tugged it. "Better watch your step, newbie," said Chief Gunnery Officer Keller, his tone dripping with mockery. "We don't babysit here." She met his gaze, steady, calm, and piercing enough to silence the laughter for half a second. "Understood," she replied softly, adjusting her sleeve. "I'll remember that. That night in the barracks." She listened to the chatter, the jokes about the new girl, the bets on how long she'd last, the sneers about women who couldn't handle the real Navy. Rae didn't flinch. She'd heard worse in the early years, long before she ever wore an admiral's insignia, back when she was one of them and had clawed her way through ranks that didn't want her there. By the next morning, word spread that the base was expecting an inspection. The commanding officers scrambled to look sharp. Rae was assigned to assist the senior staff in setting up the presentation. They barked orders at her, clean this, polish that, don't get in the way. She nodded and worked silently, noting every misplaced report, every lazy procedure, every protocol ignored. Her expression never changed. At precisely 0900 hours, the siren wailed, signaling the arrival of the inspection convoy. A sleek black car pulled up. Out stepped the regional commander, flanked by 2 aides. "Attention!" shouted Keller, snapping into a salute. The commander nodded curtly. "Where's Admiral Morgan?" he asked. A hush swept through the crowd. Keller blinked. "Admiral who, sir?" Before anyone could answer, Rae stepped forward. Her cap, until then tucked under her arm, slipped onto her head as she straightened to full height. The golden insignia gleamed in the morning light. Every smirk evaporated. Every sound died. "I'm Admiral Morgan," she said evenly. "And I believe I've seen enough." The silence was deafening. Keller's face went pale. The same men who had laughed at her now stood frozen, realizing their mistake. For a long moment, she said nothing. Just let the weight of her rank and their shame settle. Then she spoke softly, but every word cut through the air like steel. "You forgot what this base stands for. You forgot what service means? But don't worry, I'll remind you. If you're hooked already, hit that like button and subscribe to Her Mission Diaries." The next morning, Fort Triton woke to chaos, not the noisy, lazy kind that had defined it before, but the sharp precision of a base under inspection. Orders flew, drills began, and officers scrambled to fix what they'd ignored for months. Admiral Morgan didn't raise her voice once, but her presence was like a current running through every corridor, silent, electric, unstoppable. She started by calling a meeting with every division head. The same officers who'd laughed behind her back now sat stiffly at attention. "Let's begin," she said, sliding a stack of reports across the table. I've reviewed your operational data, disciplinary logs, and training metrics. I'm not impressed. Keller swallowed hard. Ma'am, with respect. Respect? Her tone stayed level, but her eyes hardened. You speak of respect now? She paused, then leaned forward slightly. When you tripped a fellow officer? When you mocked a recruit? When you let your men forget what honor means? Tell me, Chief Keller, where was your respect then? No one spoke. Rae stood and walked to the window overlooking the training field. This base has forgotten its heart. But I haven't. I built my career on bases like this one. Places where I was told I didn't belong. I earned my stripes while others tried to tear them off me, and I will not allow this rot to continue under my command. The following weeks were a storm of change. Every sloppy habit, every unchecked abuse of rank, every unearned comfort, gone. She led from the front, running drills, fixing reports, mentoring the young recruits who'd been too scared to speak up. Slowly, the laughter returned to Fort Triton, not the cruel kind, but the proud kind, the kind that came after a hard day's work done right. Even Keller changed. One evening, he approached her on the dock, the sunset bleeding across the waves. Ma'am, he said quietly, I owe you an apology. Rae turned, her face softening. You owe it to the uniform, Chief, not to me. He nodded. Still, thank you for not giving up on us. She smiled faintly. I don't give up on sailors. I just remind them who they are. By the time her mission concluded, Fort Triton had transformed. The once disgraced base now stood as one of the fleet's best-performing units, disciplined, united, proud. And the story of the new girl became legend, whispered to every recruit who arrived after. Be careful who you underestimate, they'd say. You never know if she's the Admiral. As she left the base, her duffel on her shoulder again, a young cadet saluted her sharply. Permission to speak freely, ma'am? Granted, Rae replied. I just wanted to say, you make me proud to wear this uniform. Rae's smile returned, small but real. Then my mission here is complete. She turned toward the rising sun, her steps steady, her legacy already echoing in the sound of boots training behind her. That was they took down the new girl, not realizing she was the base's new admiral. An exclusive story from Her Mission Diaries. If Rae Morgan's courage inspired you, tap that like button, share this story, and subscribe for more mission stories of women who lead, fight, and rise. Because every mission begins with belief, and belief can change everything.